trees, your yellow leaves move me. Dancing moves your painted red shakes the room. When I get there, I'll let my feet roll. When I get there, I'll break in your arms, I'll lose control. When I get there, I'll know the answer. Let me know when I get closer.
Hey everybody, this is Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. This is our weekly live stream where we talk about whatever crosses our minds, whatever we want to talk about. It's usually pretty much unscripted, and we just hang out. We just chill. And this week, once again, for the third week running, we have Rodrigo, who's agreed to join us today. So we got Rodrigo here. Hey Rodrigo, how's it going?
Hey, hi everyone.
Cool. So
How's it going, Eric, up there?
So we were talking before how I spent the whole day today coding. So I was like, so I'm doing an app in Xamarin with an Angular JS. So using Xamarin with Firebase with an Angular JS admin site. So this is one where the developer flaked off and he left. And so I've been doing the Angular bit, which I didn't really know Angular 8 before. I mean, I'm pretty much an Angular 1 guy. So a couple weekends ago, I just was watching all of these tutorials and I got up to speed. It may not be the most elegant thing, but it's working, it's connecting to Angular, and the Angular side is working really well. In fact, I'm starting even to like it. But then the Xamarin side was working really well because I've been doing it in Xamarin iOS. And then the client says they want to do a test build on Android. So of course, when I switch over to Android, I've got all these on Xamarin. I've got all these duplicate Google references. Somewhere I've got a dependency, two dependencies which have a similar dependency, and it's just driving me crazy all afternoon because it was like go, progress, and I just slowed down while I'm on Stack Overflow trying to talk about those kind of things. So that was me today. And then like this week it's been busy. It's been really, really busy, catching up with stuff. And I know I did a video yesterday where we talked about how busy everything is, but but anyway, that's me this week. So we'll talk about some other stuff. But anyway, that was the thought I was talking about before we started the stream. Let me just say hello to everybody here. We got Rodrigo is here first. Hello, Rodrigo. Of course you're here first. Billy, hey Billy, how's it going? What's up, Billy? Thanks everybody for smashing the like button also. Mega Man 2016 is here. Hey, how's it going? One day you're going to be looking back at the 2016 and people are going to think it's your age. You realize that whenever you see somebody sent me an email this week and they had 1971 in their email, and I know how old that person was, which is about 25 years older than me, 1 year older than me. Maybe. Shahabas Shaker says, "Hi Eric, hope you're doing well. Do you have any plans to develop mobile apps games using Unity 3D? What are your thoughts on Unity 3D to do mobile apps?" Okay, good question. So I don't have any plans to do it. For me, I think because I'm not that big into gaming. I'm happy just to do 2D easy games that are just for the mobile. And I'm impressed with 3D games. But I just haven't really seen a need for that. I mean, and I don't know how well they do like in terms of monetization and stuff, but it's just something, it's like, to me, adding that third dimension to it just seems like it'd be really difficult. I mean, I'm surprised. I mean, I've looked at Unity 3D and I'm surprised at how easy it is to add those textures and everything. It looks really cool, but I don't have any plans to do anything like that. I think for 2D for me is usually enough. The clients who come to us, 2D is usually fine. So but I don't have anything against it. I think it's pretty cool. Have you ever done any 3D stuff, Rodrigo?
No, never worked with Unity. It's pretty cool and you can do some cool 3D stuff, but I never did. But I think he asked in relation to apps, and if it's apps, I would not use Unity, but if it's games, yeah, there's a chance. So.
Yeah, I try to use Corona SDK, which is a game engine. And they said you could do business apps with it too. We tried to do a business app with it, and it just failed miserably. I mean, they didn't support stuff like we needed to do. It was so much easier doing it on. We moved it from Corona after like months of just bugs, and we couldn't load data asynchronously for some reason in Lua, so from the API we needed to do asynchronous connections so we could do multiple at the same time. So it was really, really slow. It was very buggy. It was, and it could have been the developer that I was working with wasn't all that familiar with it. And then, so we moved everything to Ionic and really rewrote the whole thing after months and months and months of the client getting frustrated. Rewrote it like over a weekend into Ionic, and it was much easier to do just because it was better built for those kind of business applications.
Yeah, usually when there's some listing or something like that, it's just Ionic or other non-game related frameworks. So.
Yeah. Let's see who else we got over here. We got Parash Bhat. Hey, how's it going, Parash? Fist 007. Yo, Eric, what's up, dude? What's up, Fist 007? And he says, hi, Rodrigo. Shahabas also says hello. Actually, let me bring you up. If you guys are going to say hello to Rodrigo. All right. If you guys are going to, I didn't know you're going to steal my thunder. All right. So, hey, Rodrigo, good to have you back here. Marco Sora says, hey, Eric, how was your week? Also, hey, Rodrigo, great guest. Yeah, Rodrigo's been here 3 weeks in a row. I know I said early that we would try to put somebody different every week, but the weeks have been going by so fast. I mean, I've just been busy. I've got like contract work, client work. I've got stuff where I had a developer who left, so I'm like doing all kinds of like Angular and Xamarin stuff on the side. I was doing a bit of Flutter stuff, but it was really just a reskin of some existing Code Canyon code, and just it just seems like I'm all over the board, like just. You know, it's just constantly, and part of it, I mean, I'm saying it as if, man, I'm just working, oh gosh, because I have so much work, but part of it's kind of fun. It's like fun when you get something up and running, like, dude, this is it, just knock it out, yeah, you know, so like doing user maintenance, you know, just hooking up everything to a Firebase backend, having it handle authentication, forget password, all that kind of stuff, and hooking into those hooks through the application and using an Angular admin template that I bought, which I'm hosting in Firebase, so that I'm able to just do plug in all the Firebase plugins and everything like that. It's working really, really well, and I'm just knocking that kind of stuff out because it seems like when I give it to another developer to do, it's so often it would take weeks, and I'm just like, dude, I just need to get this done, right? Just make these quick decisions. So it's been kind of fun. How was your week, Rodrigo?
It was a bit of the same. I'm working on a redesign of my main app, and it was the same thing after thing, like getting stuff done. It goes back to us being a human, meaning we like to get things done. We feel accomplished, and like when we see we did this and that, it's great. So we keep moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's one thing you didn't hear me say was I was working on my own apps this week, which I did not. I did no work on my own applications. This is one of the so, I've been starting to look for a developer. I'm starting to look for somebody to hire, but it's got to be somebody locally. I mean, so it's one of the reasons why I haven't advertised on the channel. So I'm kind of putting the job spec together, trying to see if I find somebody who can work locally, mainly because so we have clients. I'm at the point now where we're turning down a lot of projects or projects just can't get to, and I'm letting people down, which is difficult. So, but that's also, but for the moment, I'm kind of enjoying doing some of the code myself. But my own applications have been neglected. Mr. White, hey, Mr. White, how's it going? Fistople says, I'm building 2 WordPress WooCommerce sites to clients. Cool, that's the kind of thing. So I was doing a Flutter application that connects with Shopify. So it's not WooCommerce, but similar. Emilio Matos, hey, how's it going, Emilio? Vivek says, hey, bro, seeing your first live. Woo, welcome. So when you're here for the first live, there's a rule that we always do. When you watch the live the first time, you have to take your trousers off. So everybody's done it. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that didn't sound like you don't have to do it online, just like in your own personal thing. It's not a creepy thing. Like
I know something better.
What's that?
You have to eat pizza afterwards.
Oh yeah, you do have to eat pizza afterwards. God, I am sweating. I think I'm gonna lose some weight on this live stream. It's a really, really, really warm day today, and because I live on this busy intersection, I have like a ambulance dispatch or something like a few blocks away. So I'll be on Zoom calls and with the windows open, and people are like, where's that siren coming from? Especially I'm on Zoom calls with people who live out in the countryside or in their offices, and you can just hear people honking at each other. Everything. You would think that I live in a metropolitan city, and it's just a small town, but it's on this busy intersection. Let's see. Fist Up says the problem with games development is that they rely so much more on than simply coding. You need audio, graphical assets, game design, level design, game longevity. True. I mean, when you talk about a business application, a lot of times the design, well, you rely on design, but it's like code design. It's like, you have like stuff that us coders can do. I could do a little drop shadow there. I could do like a oval, and I could have a little bit of, maybe I want to put a gradient in there, whatever. You could, whatever kind of design you want to do. And then the icon is that one thing where a designer would really help with. But with game development, it's like everything.
Yeah. With a business app, you just get data, display data, while in a game you have to think about everything, like how it looks, interaction, getting the player hooked, and everything, sound, image.
Yeah. And especially when we did games, we've done a few games for clients, and it just, the difficulty is in the subjective parts of it, that intangible, we can't describe it type of thing, which is why the design on games usually is way higher than development apps, because so it's easy for us to know, okay, so I retrieve the data, I display the data, they update the data, it goes back to there, or maybe I have an algorithm that does run some sort of calculations or whatever, but everything you could predefine, and you get a working model that looks like crap, but everything works, and then focus on the design. Whereas with a game, it's not really like that. You're kind of, it's too long to make temporary assets while you're doing the main thing. Too much for even two programmers to handle. I don't know. A lot of indie developers are able to do it. Apps, on the other hand, isn't it, Eric? Apps are easier. Let's see. Vivek says impressions are only 70,000. How is it possible? Sorry, did I miss part of this question? Impressions are only 70,000. Let's see. Careful, Eric. Don't generalize too much. Better specialize. Vivek says, on AdMob, my impressions was 250,000 with $50 plus earnings, but now on Facebook with the same user's impression, it goes to 70,000 with only $30 earnings. How impressions less on Facebook? Facebook doesn't. Why are the impressions less on Facebook? I know on Amazon. What I would do is take a look at the geographical distribution. Does Facebook equally serve globally the same way that AdMob does? I would think so, but it wouldn't serve China. But yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm never really, when it comes to that kind of stuff, looking at it like for like. But what I would do is do a breakdown based on country, because there may be one country or two countries that don't. And if you know what that is, once you find that common denominator, if it's across the board lower, then I would go back to AdMob if that's more. But if it's like certain countries are higher, certain are lower, you can either programmatically do it or do it through mediation networks or something like that.
Neither AdMob or Facebook work in China, right?
No, I don't think AdMob works in China. But I've had AdMob impression, I've had that in my console, that I've had impressions there, but I don't know why. But they shouldn't do, because they shouldn't get through the Great Firewall.
There's ways to get around, so maybe they are using something like VPNs or something.
Maybe. Let's see. Louis Solar. Hey, Louis, how's it going? Says, what do you think about Flutter for web? I think the same way that I think about CoffeeScript or something like that. I think it's that. It's cool that you could write it you could write what you want to once and then export it to web. But I think the same way, eventually you get to the point where you have some sort of issue, and again, first of all, I've never used it, but I do know, if there's a problem on a page on a certain type of browser, I could look at the JavaScript and figure it out, right? So when somebody uses something like CoffeeScript or TypeScript, well, TypeScript not so much because it's closer, but something that transpiles into it, or even ASP.NET. What I used to hate about ASP.NET web forms is all the junk that they would put in there for the JavaScript. Like it was just, and that's one of the things that I'm worried about, because I've never used Flutter for web, but that's what concerns me about it. Like, is it going to put like all this kind of, assign random IDs to things, and then you try to go through and just debug the JavaScript, but you can't because it's just like, gobbledygook and, that kind of stuff. But I don't know. But I've never actually used it. It may be cleaner than ASP.NET Web Forms. But whenever it comes to something that takes you away from the core, and I mean, but I guess in the same way, we do this thing with cross-platform frameworks. Like today it was like I'm working on a Xamarin application. So Xamarin application compiles to Android and iOS, which is great. The iOS version has been my test build, but I'm trying to build Android, and I got a dependency error. Everybody says you just need to go to build.gradle and change things. But the Visual Studio and Xamarin doesn't give you access to Gradle, to build.gradle, at least from what I've read. So I'm like just trying to figure out how to do it. So I'm trying to, all of a sudden I'm in this, this no man's land where every example has to do with the base kind of things. And that's when it comes to stuff like when you have something where you build in one language in a framework and it compiles to another, and then everybody else has that same thing, and either they have to fix it at the framework level, or they have to fix it, or you have to figure out a way to fix it yourself, or just not do whatever it is you're trying to do. But so that's my concern about it, but I've never used it.
Yeah, me neither. And if you have that need, I would just go with a hybrid framework, and it would be pure web, so it would export JavaScript, HTML, etc., and it works on the web. So
yeah, one of the things that I do like, but it's easy to say. So like Flutter for web may be awesome. Like I can't stand it when somebody says, "Why use cross-platform? Why don't you just use native?" And I'm like, well, because cross-platform is it's easier. I could do it one time and you have it go to better places. So I think that a Flutter application for mobile is better than a hybrid application for mobile. But but when you go to the web, I think the hybrid application would be better. But the Flutter application, not so sure. But again, like I said, I've never used it. So if somebody knows any different, let me know. If somebody says, "Eric, Flutter for web is the most awesome thing ever," you're totally wrong. You could totally go through and manipulate the CSS and manipulate the JavaScript and all that kind of stuff. Then I'll believe you. Let's see. Matthew Creek says, "I made $4 yesterday in AdMob. Anyone else having revenue spikes?" My revenue is still very low. I gotta, I don't know where the weeks go. I need to hire somebody. Have you noticed a revenue spike? Are you checking?
I've not looked recently. I was just trying to look, but I don't think so. Yeah, no, nothing. Just the opposite. The spike went down.
Let me check mine. So yesterday I made. So far today I made load. Oh, so yesterday I made £6.41 on AdMob. God. All right, so that's again, it's one of these things where I need to get to it. But I'm definitely seeing a drop since the beginning of July. Let's see. Chiron Janitha says, "I made my first game, simple 2D game. Awesome." Also got $4 the day before. Matthew says, "Cool." Fist up 72. Eric and Rodrigo, if you were to build a SaaS product, what would it be? Oh yeah, we're gonna give you our ideas. Yeah. So if I was gonna build a SaaS product, let's see, what would I build?
Good question.
I don't know, because I think about this kind of stuff all the time. In fact, there's a few that I am thinking about, and it's the case of making that investment into it. I kind of feel right now I'm the plate spinner, right? I've got like all these projects, and I need to get some help to help me with those kind of things. So I focus on bringing in the new work and focus on my own apps and that kind of stuff. But I've just been busy doing the plate spinning because things have to get done, but it's also helping me sharpen my skills, which is cool. But I think if I was going to do anything, I think I would like to do something very niche. We did a SaaS project for a client that was very niche, and they were doing really well with it. So I was just jealous of them having recurring revenue from it. Whereas with my in-app purchases and my purchases of apps, I was just getting one-offs, and I was kind of, or if even mobile, like a SaaS product, you could easily charge $20 a month, or whatever, depending on what it does.
I can tell you an idea that I've had for a few months.
What's that?
There's already a product out there, but it seems like the quality is not the best. And also GitHub could implement this and be like good competition or big competition. I've actually sent them a feature request for this. And what would it be is, imagine you have a issue that you created and you need it to get fixed like right away. You just say, I will put my money where my mouth is, as we say, and you put like $10, $20 on that issue, and whoever fixes it gets the money. So there's a service called Bounty Source that works like that. Like you can pay developers to fix a given issue, but their service like goes down, is slow, and other things. Imagine if GitHub had its own thing. You could just pay what you feel like, what's worth for you, and if someone is in, like they fix it and they get the money. And they could even like multiple people give money. Like someone gives $5, another person $5, and after a while it's like $100 for a bug to get fixed, and someone goes in, fixes it, contributes to open source, and gets paid. So
cool. No, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, I think it would be. Yeah, that'd be cool. Let's see. What do we got? Matthew says, last month was my first $90 a month ever. That's really cool. What you should be looking at now, Matthew, is is your average revenue per user, or average revenue per revenue per user. If you're using ad revenue, it's probably pretty low. But if it is high enough, then and you can actually start advertising, then you can start putting that up. So like if for every user you're making 10 cents, then you could spend 5 cents to acquire that user easily and still make a profit and just keep putting money into that. But with ad revenue, it was like I was making like 2 cents per user or something. But
true. Same for me,
yeah.
And probably for most developers.
Yeah. Oh, so let's see. Shahaba says, I tried developing an app in Unity 3D. It's pretty fun, except for the initial APK build size, which is obvious, I guess. How big is it, APK size? Let's see. So Fist Up says standards. So are you saying standards, like we need to have standards? Chiron says, I released my... Okay, first of all, you guys are going to start noticing this over one. I wore this worst shirt for this hot day because I was fine in the beginning, but you're going to start this. I'm going to be drenched by the end of this live stream. So, and I'm sorry, I'm going off tangent, right? So my sweat, it gets like under the moobs, right? Under the, so it's nasty, right? I come back from a run and I look like, it's embarrassing. One of the reasons why when I go on like organized runs, you get the water and you throw it over yourself, not to cool down, just get rid of the sweat pattern. Sorry, off topic. Chiron says, I released my first game in the Play Store, second 2D game, only 50 downloads with ad mob limitation. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people have that ad mob limitation. Marco says, hey, Eric, I will be releasing my app in a couple of weeks or 1 month. Currently has ads, but I was wondering, would ads be able to generate more revenue than a subscription-based type of medium? No, I wouldn't think so. No. Ads will be like, so if you have users who are willing to pay, see, this is one of the things that people talk about. Well, why don't you just I remember when I was getting thousands of downloads a day, somebody said, why don't you just get everyone to pay you like 10 cents? It's because going, some people just will never pay, right? They have to put their credit card associated with their account. They do all kinds of stuff. Even if I paid like the minimum, right, I would just lose those users, right? So advertising in some cases is just better, right? you got lots of people who are kids, or they just don't have a credit card, or they don't have whatever. And some people are payers and some people aren't. If you can determine that you got payers, like people will pay for a subscription for it, then definitely go that way. You're going to get much more than you can from advertising.
Yeah, there's a important thing to distinguish. Maybe he can get more revenue from ads, but that's different from more revenue per user.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
if you want per user, probably a subscription or in-app purchases. But in general, if it's just a bunch of users and you put ads, you could get more, but you need lots more users. So
cool. Let's see. Fist Up says the difficulty with SaaS is not the product itself; it's how to convince people to buy it. That makes sense. Matthew says, my app appraises silver and gold. Oh, yeah, you showed it just before, which are worth more than normal. Could that be why? It could be. So I've heard this about YouTube channels. Like if you have a financial YouTube channel, you would get more advertising revenue than if you had a gaming YouTube channel or something like that. So I'd imagine it'd be the same with AdMob ads. Fist Above says, excellent idea, Rodrigo. There you go. You're just going to steal your idea. You've missed my question.
I already have some users, it seems.
Missed my question before standards. Was there another question? I didn't see one. I saw the it didn't come through for some reason. Not for me anyway. Let's see. Shahaba says the APK size does not go below 14 megabyte even if it's an empty application. Yeah, we were seeing that a lot with frameworks. On Xamarin, I'm seeing that too. Something like 46 megabytes for a simple application, and it's just, it is kind of that thing. Luckily, we have more disk space and things are starting to go by. Used to be like, I'd be like, if you can keep it below 10 megabytes, that's best. And then we had these language learning ones where we had all these MP3 files and images, and it was like, okay, so 30 megabytes. Yeah, we'll put that out there. And now it's getting to a point where some of these apps are really big. And even when I bought a new iPhone a few months ago, and I was like, I'm going for the 512 gigabytes or something like that because I'm tired of running out of space. Let's see.
That's why I still love Cordova and Ionic and Angular. Like it makes an app like 4 or 5 megs, so it's tiny for the users.
See, Matthew says turn on a fan. I think I will turn on a fan. The reason I turn off the fan was because of the noise, but I'm going to turn on. Let's do that. So let me know if you guys, if it's too much noise, but can you hear that? It's a noisy fan.
Just a tiny bit. Don't worry.
All right.
At least you.
Yeah, we're all friends here, right? You guys are gonna complain, are you? Let's see. Fistavo says ASP.NET Web Forms was built for Windows Forms developers to easily work on web apps, and it generates some messy code. ASP.NET MVC, on the other hand, is a lot cleaner and also conforms to the web to be continued standards. Yes, I agree with that. So when I was still doing ASP.NET stuff, when the MVC framework was a huge leap forward, it was almost like the cool people in Microsoft got back in charge, right? It was like ASP.NET Web Forms was like, oh, you can just drag and drop on the interface, all this kind of stuff, for the desktop developers. And it was just nasty code. So it was easier just to go in and do just standard HTML. And even using ASP.NET or ASP Classic, you're generating the HTML, so you know what the HTML is in the standards the same way you do with PHP. But the ASP.NET Web Forms was like just nasty stuff that it just thought, oh, we just have to, just drag everything on there. It does everything for you. And then when the MVC framework came in, it was going back to those web standards, which I really liked. And you see that again. And then I went and did a bunch of SharePoint development, which was back to those ASP.NET Web Forms. And SharePoint was developed, I think, as punishment in some countries for developers, but I can't prove that. But I hated working on it.
I never used it, so can't prove it either.
Let's see. Emilio says, Eric and Rodrigo, I have a meeting with an ASO company representative later this afternoon. What should I ask them to make sure they can deliver? Ask them ask them what guarantees they have. Because to me, ASO is a black art, right? It's, even SEO. I hired an SEO person once, or a few times actually, and everything came back for something to me to do. You need to add a button over here. You need to add some content for this. You need to add this. I was like, I don't need a consultant. I need somebody to help me do this stuff. And if they're really good at what they do, then, can you not pay them if they don't deliver? Is there like a bonus schema? Because I've talked to ASO people and they're talking about, well, first we have an initial bit of work that we do. It's 4,000 pounds, and then we do 1,000 pounds a month. But you're gonna, your app will just explode. And I was like, yeah, I don't quite, it sounds like a lot to lay down for a maybe.
Yeah, I would say try to work on a outcomes basis, meaning like they deliver, and if it works out, you pay them, or you pay a portion before something. Also, ask them for numbers, because what we say is numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
It's either 0 or 1. It's like either you get 1,000 users and they produce 1,000 euros or dollars in revenue, or they don't. So
yeah. So I was working with an SEO guy, and they kept talking about, they try to use like terms that they thought would throw me, like, well, you have white hat and you have black hat and you have gray hat. We use a lot of the gray hat, and then they talk about, what's that score, the plugin? It was like not an Alexa score, but it was like something for websites. But they kept telling me this score, and it was like, and they said, and it was just like, you're getting too you're too inside this thing. Like one of the things, if you go into an ASO person, they say, well, what keywords would you like to rank for? That's kind of the thing they should be helping you with, right? And every time I work with an ASO or an SEO person, that's the first thing they ask me. And I was like, why don't you help me come up with those keywords rather than me give you the keywords? You go off and do that kind of stuff. So, but I don't know. I mean, but it might, if it works out for you, let us know, because I'm really skeptical about that, about somebody else doing it. Matthew says, I've received a lifetime value of $90 from in-app purchases. Yeah, but you're getting something. Somebody's buying it. Who are they? Do you have the demographics for that? Who are they? I mean, if you're getting something, then, it's like, it's not like you have an IAP and then nobody's ever bought it. Ben Lamptey says, hey guys, hey Ben, how's it going? It's me again. So I managed to complete the app and push the Google Play and App Store. Awesome. Still waiting for approval on both platforms. Cool. Congratulations. But interestingly, Apple rejected my first submission because of screenshots. I know. They are such assholes. I've got the same thing because of screenshots. Like they said, the screenshots are, that's what I always say. Try to be creative with your screenshots, but also be prepared for they're not going to suspend you because of that. They're just going to say, you need to change your screenshots. So I've had screenshots where it was an Android device in the screenshot. I've had screenshots where there was too much text or it wasn't an actual thing. So whatever, it's the reviewer. So, and that's one of the reasons why when we do stuff for clients, I don't get so creative with the screenshots, because it's difficult to explain to them, oh, we were rejected, because then they kind of freak out a little bit. But don't freak out. It's just like a normal thing. So,
yeah. By the way, Eric, last week someone, I don't remember who, sorry, left a comment saying something about, on the last live stream, about Apple and Google being a duopoly. Did you see that comment?
Yeah.
And I think it was Apple guy, Tim Cook or whatever, that replied, oh no, we are not. We have to compete for developers with everyone. They can work for PlayStation, Xbox, Google, Apple, blah, blah, Windows. Everyone knows it's just Apple and Google, Android and iOS. Developers don't go to any other, so.
Yeah, there was a comment this week or last week on one of the videos from, I think, I forgot the name, something process, but if I remember the guy, and he said you should talk about that. And it's such as all of us developers know, we all know how difficult it is. I mean, it's definitely you just have to kiss their butt. You just have to do what they want and put something out there. I mean, it's not a free system by any means. It is kind of funny to hear them say, oh, no, yeah, it is. Yeah, people can do whatever they want. But yeah, there definitely is a duopoly. Ben said they want good, clear screenshots. However, Google hasn't said anything just yet. I don't think you'll get much trouble from Google. Any particular reason why Apple would be picky on screenshots? You gotta think about it. There's some guy who's like, why would they be picky on screenshots? They're just trying to protect
Everything.
Yeah, they're picky on everything. There's like somebody who's reviewing it, and if you read the, I think the terms and conditions, if it doesn't say it anymore, it used to say it like it needs to be the screenshot and not anything else. And you see other people do it. I mean, it's just, so I think it's, they like I've had it because like I said, there's been Android in the screenshot because the screenshot mentioned something that they didn't like, but they just want to have the best user experience for their users, and they have people who are looking at probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of apps a day and making these quick snap decisions, and they probably just like yes, no. I don't think they're going, let me consult with the thing and do all that. So I think, it's possible that if like a year from now, if you submit the same screenshots, you might even get them through.
Do you think this is also good for developers, that keeps us sharp by like making sure everything is good quality for them?
I've had I've had apps crash when the reviewers tried them, and it was like, whew, thank God, right? I'm glad, which is like embarrassing, but at the same time, it was like that last line of defense. Or but sometimes, they'll get you on stuff like if there's that new rule that if you have social logins, you need to sign in with Apple now. So there's all that kind of stuff that they're trying to push through, and they're just, and the things that scare me are when they say this isn't good enough to be an app, or this category is too crowded, or your apps are too similar to each other, because then it's like there's definitely a value decision being made on their part rather than a checklist type of thing.
It also ends up being a semi-free QA, so
yeah, maybe, yeah, I suppose, yeah, but yeah, you should. I mean, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm just gonna submit things without even testing them. No, it was like, but I think on that one it was just like a small change, whatever. And I think I had like a stray character in there. I was surprised it compiled actually. Bad. It was really bad on my part. I'm not proud of it. It was a dark time in my life. I was going through a lot of troubles emotionally. I was drinking heavily. All right, so Matthew says, I charge 99 cents for 3 months without ads, $1.99 for a year without ads, and $3.99 for a permanent ad removal. That sounds cool. That's not a bad idea. Try to raise that price, see what happens.
He probably makes more from that than the user would make, like just seeing ads. So.
Yeah, definitely. Vivek says, which app would you develop for good ads revenue if you don't have any back-end support? I developed a WhatsApp, web, and Facebook Lite. Any other ideas? If you don't have any back-end support, well, most of the time, like having back-end support is it's easy to do with Firebase and all that kind of stuff, but it's hard to do when you have an application where you have users using it. It hasn't got the adoption that you want, and you still have to support this back-end framework, because if you remove the back-end framework, then those few users you have will complain. So if you can do one without back-end support, it's easier, because then you're like, just, all right, well, I tried that, let me move on to the next thing, whereas otherwise you're supporting this thing. Which I had that one of these applications on Parse, which I know I talked about before, was like, okay, we're gonna have this back-end thing, and it did okay. But it was not a lot of people were actually paying for the in-app purchases to upgrade. And when Parse went out, it was like it wasn't really worth upgrading for those few users that I had. But
that's why nowadays we use lots of serverless things, because we don't have to worry as much.
Yeah.
But there's always the problem that it can go away at some point.
Yeah. Let's see. Fist of Love says that for ASO. Oh God, I'm so glad you guys told me to turn on the fan. It's so much better. I hope it's not too loud. I feel kind of like I'm a. For ASO SEO, you should tell them this: do it without paying a penny, and I'll split the revenue generated SEO ASO for 50-50%. Yeah, that would be really cool. That would be. But I doubt anybody would go for it. It's kind of the same as somebody came to you as a developer. Like if you were trying to say, I could build you an app, it should make a lot of money. And they said, well, if it doesn't make any money, why don't we just go on a revenue share? And you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to take that risk. And I know they're probably want to go for it. That's Apple for you. That is Apple for you. Boris, hey, Boris, how's it going? Hey, Eric, Rodrigo is a great guy, but maybe change guest could not be a bad idea. Dude, that was all right. So nothing against Rodrigo. All right, Rodrigo, I'm going to take you off the screen here, all right? All right, nothing against Rodrigo, but that was exactly what I thought, Boris. If anybody wants to be on the live stream one of these weeks, but like I haven't really it's just been like, if you notice, I schedule the live stream on the day of the live stream. That's how it's just been go, 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 go. I've been doing so many jobs at the same time, but yeah, it's exactly what I wanted to do because we don't need Rodrigo, really, to be honest with you. Anyway, I'm gonna bring him back, but don't tell him I told you that. All right, let's see. Let's see. But yeah, I agree with you, Boris. And even Rodrigo said that. So, but also Rodrigo, yeah, as a blog, we never talk about your blog. You have like a 24-hour stream still?
Oh, have I told you? That stream is kind of secret, so ignore it.
No,
But
sorry.
yeah,
Sorry.
or it's another stream. Anyways, I also
okay.
have a blog that you guys can find in this description below.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we put it in the
I talk about code, health, and peer-to-peer investments. So yeah,
Cool.
enjoy, guys.
Yeah.
There's still like only a few articles, but I'll write more.
Cool. All right. So Fistable says, why are Apple so picky? Steve Jobs as a ghost is looking over their shoulders. I don't, here's one that when you look at the Apple platform, sorry, if you look at Google Play, look at how much junk there is on there. How much things on there are just kind of sketchy. And at least on Apple, you have that line of defense. I mean, this is one of the reasons Apple's doing everything manually. So it's going through somebody whose job it is to look at everything. And Google has an algorithm that's kind of going through and trying to figure this kind of stuff out, which means we're getting suspended for stuff. I mean, people are really coming down on Google for some of these applications. So they're trying to make it more safe and secure and everything. But in some ways, I think the Apple platform, it's better to have that review in place. I mean, if your kids are going to be using it, you don't want somebody look at the Ear Spy stuff. The Ear Spy, I did the Ear Spy app. I'm trying to be like honest. I wasn't trying to I don't want to do it like so you could listen to your next door neighbors or whatever. The stuff people would ask me to do, which is just really nasty, dodgy stuff. I'm like, it's like a baby monitor. It wasn't doing anything. But a lot of the people, the copycats, they were really like getting in there like, catch your cheating spouse, and it was just, they're just the worst of humanity comes out sometimes if somebody's like looking to make the money, and it should have some sort of validation that somebody say, yes, we'll have this on there. So in some ways, I'm not that worried about it, but it can be like, it's just, they can be picky.
Yeah, like you said, it filters out a bit of the junk that we see in the Play Store. So
Yeah.
there's some benefits.
Let's see. Ertai IT says hello from Kazakhstan. Hey, how's it going? Kazakhstan. That's new. Cool. I think have we had anybody from Kazakhstan before? Everybody put where you're watching from. Let's do that. That'd be kind of cool. But say I'm watching from here because otherwise I'll get to it and I'll go Kazakhstan. What does that mean? Because by the time I get to it, I'll have forgotten I asked. Fistova says for ASO SEO, you should tell them this. Oh, we already did that one. Shahaba says, what's the spec of your computer build, Eric? I see Rodrigo has some slick rig, but does it run Android Studio? Look at all the lights and everything. I just upgraded a few months ago. Because I have to use a Mac because I do the iOS development. I did have a MacBook Pro, which was dying. It was just getting louder and louder. So now I have an iMac, 27-inch iMac. Let me see if I go to the larger screen so you can see it. I have a 27-inch iMac here. I've upgraded the memory I got 72 gigs of RAM. So before, whenever I was editing a video, it would just take ages. A lot of times the videos, it was just like, so I would try to quickly edit a video and then get back to the code, and it was like too much stuff going on. So now I got like I wanted to have like a beast of a machine, like a Windows machine with liquid cooling and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, I got the iMac, so that's where I'm going from now. But Rodrigo, what do you got?
I got a custom build, I would say. Liquid cooling, AMD Ryzen something, 32 gigabytes of memory, SSD, NVMe M.2. It's like the best, really fast, like everything loads fast. Graphic card, good one for games, and then pretty lights. But yeah, my Android Studio loads quite fast and makes the builds like in seconds, so it's pretty well optimized. And then I run Linux, so it's like perfect.
Yeah, I always say it all the time. I wanted to be a Linux developer because I think they're like the alpha coders. They're the ones who are like, I mean, yeah, but like so let's talk about code in terms of coolness. So like I think of the SharePoint developers. Obviously, I don't have a high opinion of like. Okay, so let's think about. I started off as an Microsoft Access and VBA. Then you have web. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to end up offending somebody by doing this. Forget I've been on this way, but I always think the people like the C++ or the C developers are probably like the hardcore people. They're like, but kind of the, like in the basement, they're just coding away. But also they're on Linux. I always think the alpha coders are on Linux. Let's see. But does it run Android Studio? Yeah, I run Android Studio. What spec do you recommend as an Android developer? I think you need to have something with plenty of disk space. Yeah, and RAM and disk space. Because Android Studio just takes, I mean, every time there's an update, that was one of the problems with my old computer. It was like just filling it with the Android, the new emulator images and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I have all the SDKs and I have not looked in a while, but it's like 50 gigs or something else. So, yeah.
Matthew Creek, raise which price? So your in-app purchases, try to raise the prices and see what happens. So if you raise the price of your 1 month, because I know the 1 month was $99, 6 months was $199, $399 for forever. It is still more, but I thought you could try to like just raise it a little bit, see what happens. But be willing to go back. So like watch the effect it has on it. So if you're like reading the price directly from Google Play, then you could like play around with that a little bit, or also look at other countries and try other countries and see if you raise it and lower it based on that. That's what I meant.
Just experiment with it and see.
Ertai says YT. Is that something I should be able to see? Oh, sometimes I think it doesn't show up right on the.
I think it should be YouTube. So the the emojis or something. Yeah.
All right, Marco is watching from Canada. Awesome. Fist007 from Algeria. I didn't know you were on Algeria. Emilio's from Brazil. Wow. Okay. Metallic W is watching from Kenya. Hey, how's it going? Cool. Hey, Brazil, Emilio. So, Ben's watching from Tottenham, London. Dude, I was just there on Sunday. Right behind the Tottenham Hotspur football stadium. Cool. Actually, no, I'm thinking Tottenham. I'm thinking of Tottenham Court Road tube station. I know it's probably not the same. Let's see. Fist007. Eric is like, I have a Mac. Please don't judge me. I know. I feel apologetic around the Mac. What 404 says, are your videos not monetizing anymore? This is because you don't have enough watch hours. Please post more, bro. I know this morning I got up and I was going to go out and film or do the live stream tonight anyway. I do. It is something that it's like that one. It's like, it's almost like when you stop going to the gym or you stop running, like you're in the habit of doing it and then it's hard to get back up again. Because I really started to rethink myself, like I need to get a video done, but I should talk about this, but I had all these topics I want to talk about, and it's just sitting down and actually doing it. Because that's how you get good at it, is putting in the reps. And when you get off that, like when I was doing it every day, when I was doing the daily one, sometimes it just really sucked. But it was like there's gonna be another one the next day, and when I was doing it less frequently than it would. But yeah, that definitely is something I want to do. I think it just like, because I feel like yeah, I feel the most like I really enjoyed having these conversations and talking about the kind of stuff that I find is interesting. But yes, I should. But they are monetizing. They are monetized, but they're just it's they do okay. But
Moment,
yeah, you can talk about affiliate links.
momentum is key, and inertia is a pain in the ass. So yeah, we
Yeah,
need to keep going.
yeah. Well, one of the things about doing apps was I was like, we just had this momentum where we're just putting apps out all the time, just churning them out. And then they came up with the repetitive content policy and all this kind of stuff. Is like, oh God, right? We want to be prolific at what we do, right? Nobody says to Pearl Jam that that song sounded a little too similar to the last album you put out, or that album sounded a little bit too similar to the last album. We think you should do something completely different, right? No, they're doing what they do well, and if you're really good at doing a certain type of application, you should be able to put loads of them without them saying, no, you have to be one application with a container app, and don't get me started on that. But doing the YouTube videos is different because the more you do, the better it does. But it's like a lot of times people say you would get more views if you did tutorials, you would get more monetization. And sometimes my motivation is not more views or more monetization. It's just to get something off my chest or to share something I think is interesting or just to hang out with you guys. I mean, it's they bring, I guess the videos bring about $250 a month, which I know to some people it seems like a lot, but not when I was doing it every day. It was kind of like, but I wasn't doing it for the money. I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it because I loved to do it and it was fun to do it. And I did bring in more clients, and it does bring in more clients, but it's still kind of fun. It's nice to be myself as opposed to, well, Overpass, we're this big company and we do this kind of, oh yeah, so we're the best at this. And let's talk about ASO techniques as if I know everything there is to know about ASO. And I can just be honest about things like, I've tried this works. I tried this doesn't work. Here's the big mistake I made here. Here's what it is. Like, and just like, that's kind of more fun to me.
Going back to the repetitive content,
Yeah.
I have a question for you that I always wonder when you say that. Would you do the same if the apps were websites? Would you make 10, 20 different websites?
Yeah, I would. I definitely would. I mean, because you think about like, because, especially like if you had a website, if you had a website meant for one certain type of demographic, and then you think a different demographic would find it interesting, then you would definitely use the same, you would set up a different one. You might even have the same back-end engine. I mean, it's, let's say Stack Overflow wanted to do something for plumbers, and they set up another one. It's not like, this is too similar. So that's the thing about the App Store. The App Store is not free and open the same way the web is. There's definitely a duopoly there.
Not sure if you know, but they have like a bunch, I don't know, 20, 50 or something communities, like for everything. Math, game design, I don't know, there's a bunch. So yeah.
Let's see. Fist Up 7 has a beefy laptop from 2012. Cool. Do you have to upgrade it every so often? Let's see. Marco Soares, what's up? That's not meant for us. That's meant for Marco. Marco, did you get that? Let's see. Thushara says, "Hey Rodrigo. Hey Eric Rodrigo. Greetings from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, awesome, cool." Fist Up said, my laptop will die soon. I know it for a fact. Yeah, laptops they do die. Or sometimes they just need to be put out of their misery. The MacBook. Like I think a part of me with my old MacBook was like, I don't want to buy a new one. I hope this thing breaks so I have to buy a new one.
Same.
Yeah. Let's see. App44 says, I have a 6.5 pound laptop running Windows XP from 2007 as my daily computer. Wow. Let's see. Fist 007 says, I started building a game engine with C++ and DirectX. And then I found myself building business apps and web mobile apps. And I can't remember how I found myself caught up in this. I haven't written C++ 3D since 2014. Well, you only got the computer in 2012, right? So, Luis Solar is calling from Argentina. Awesome. Ooh, this is fun. We should do this every week. Okay, his name is Alberto Wroolie. Alberto Wroolie says, "Hey Eric, do you think it's worth taking an unpaid internship job if you don't have any commercial experience? Some of my friends took unpaid intern and get a full-time job after 2 to 3 months." Yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me. If they're able to do it, then definitely. I mean, just to get that experience. You're going to learn a lot more in that. I mean, the unpaid part, it depends on your situation. If you have kids and stuff, and a family you have to support, then it might not be the easiest thing. But yeah, I mean, do what you got to do, because that 2 to 3 months is going to seem, or even if it was 6 months, 10 years from now, it's going to seem like nothing, right? It's going to be like, I'm so glad I did it, because it could change the whole trajectory of your life if you could stick it out. But I've never done anything like that, an unpaid thing. Have you, Rodrigo?
I don't think so. No, all my work was paid from the beginning. So.
And AW says, also, I'm your cousin. Are you Alan Wroolie? All right, so I don't think my cousin is a developer. Let's see. Fist Up Love says, since I'm paying for my App Store subscription, I'm free to build whatever apps I want. Yeah, since they are compliant with some moral stuff, and people are free to buy them or not. Well, yeah. I mean, you would think so. Let's see. Emilio. Educate TV is here. Hello to all. Greetings from Greece. Greece? I didn't even. Wow, cool. Let's see. Ben says, would be amazing to meet up. That would be cool. I genuinely thought you were abroad. I had no idea you were based in England. I'm in Didcot. So my flat's in Didcot, which is a 45-minute train ride out of London. I've been living in England for 22 years. So, yeah, that would be cool. We go out and have a beer. I mean, not that I drink. So
I would just like to remind everyone that passed the first hour, so it's time to hit the like button.
Oh yes. Thank you everybody who's hit the like button. If you are outside of the UK, please hit the like button, and if you're inside the UK, please hit the like button. But we're gonna wrap things up here in a minute. We're approaching an hour, but let's see. Educate TV says, any good books you've read lately? So last week was my birthday, and my mom sent me a copy of the Jordan Peterson 12 Rules for Life, and I've started reading that one. But first of all, because I'm so used to reading on a Kindle where I can increase the font size, and I'm getting up there in age. I have to get my glasses every time I read it, and it's a bit wordy. But that's why I started reading that one. It's kind of interesting, but. I'm working my way through that one. Let's see. Other than that, yeah, I've been reading some. I've been reading books on dating and stuff. This is things I'm doing, which I won't go into. I still read a lot, but sometimes my train of thought will go off in another direction, which doesn't really fit in with the channel. But are you reading anything, Rodrigo?
Not really. I don't read many books or books at all. But
look. You know what? I hope you say that with some shame and embarrassment. Look, a person who chooses not to read is no different than a person who cannot read. No, I'm just kidding.
But I heard some rumors that Eric would start linking the books he likes in the description.
I do.
One of these days, so.
I know, right? I need to do affiliate links. This is one thing. So we'll talk about monetizing the channel. I need to do that. Haba says, read The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Trust me, it's worth it. I listened to the audiobook years ago on The Power of Habit. I thought that was pretty good. Ben says, perfect. I don't drink either, lol. Let's see.
By the way, I don't read books, but I listen to lots of podcasts or kind of audiobooks. So I get lots of knowledge.
Yeah, no. It's kind of weird because we idolize books. I mean, ever since we're growing up, it's like books. Your teachers tell you need to read books. Blogs are not this. But it's books. We got to a point now where books are like a measurement rather than a thing. It's like, I'm downloading them on my Kindle, I'm reading them. What I like about a book is that you have like a well-formed thought. But a lot of times, especially with things that are like, there's a lot of books I've read which they're based on like a Fast Company article, like they're based on a Harvard Business Review article and then they filled it up with a bunch of filler. But the core concept is could be described in like a couple paragraphs. So when you talk about CISA interviews with people on a podcast or something, it really is getting that same kind of information out. And sometimes reading the book, it's like, oh yeah, I got my nose in the air because I read a lot. But sometimes, you're reading a 200-page book, which could have easily been condensed down into 10 or 20 pages, just if you got the facts of it. And you got like services out there like Blinkist, which I use sometimes, which you just get the core stuff. And usually I also listen to a lot of audiobooks, but sometimes, when you see an audiobook that's 11 hours, you're like, dude, do I really want to get into this? Let's see. Marco says, hey, Eric Rodrigo, I have my first app built in Flutter with Firebase backend. I want to make a web version for it. I was considering Angular or React. Any suggestions? I guess either one. Depends which one you feel more comfortable with. I kind of like Angular just because I'm more experienced with it. But
maybe go with React. You are already using Flutter, but you could later go with the React native. But
yeah. Well, we are going to start to wrap things up here in a couple of minutes, but let me just go through. Jantu Deb says, what is the back-end technology to use for your app in general? It depends. We do lots of our clients. So if given my own, I like serverless. So Firebase is something that I've been using a lot lately on my own. But I also, because using functions, Firebase functions is a lot like when I just do like a Node Express API backend. So if a lot of the stuff I've done in the past has just been Node.js, usually using something like Heroku, or sometimes I'll have my own Linux server, which is running it. But I'm not big on MongoDB or NoSQL. I prefer MySQL, but with Firebase, because you have the Firestore right there, I'm kind of getting more ingrained into that kind of way of thinking. But how about you, Rodrigo?
yeah, it's same. Like if I can avoid the server, it's better. But yeah, I've also been doing stuff with Node. So.
All right, Fist Up says, sounds like pizza time. It is pizza time. Let's see, we're going to wrap things up. MRM 511 says, hello, Eric, how you doing? I'm doing really well, thank you very much. It's a bit warm, but Fist Up says, Eric is hard on those who don't read. I know, I was being a bit snobby there. Sorry about that. Bit judgy. Cool. Educate TV. I've also started Jordan Peterson's book. I couldn't finish it. I find it a bit hard, but it's interesting. I'm still in chapter 1. Stand with your shoulders back. Bit with the part with the lobsters, and now he's talking about people with agoraphobia. And I'm kind of the same, where I can't pick it up and read it for an hour in a row. It's really hard for me to get through it. The Power of Habit is a great book. Definitely recommend it. Yeah, I thought that was good too. And then, I can't click on anything now. Aiden Max says, how do you know it's worth developing an app before you start? You don't. You can make it. You're making a guess, and you're taking that risk, right? We've all taken that risk, and we all go out there. Some people will say that, you do all the market research, you do all that kind of stuff, and sometimes people just don't know what they want until you show it to them. And you could ask people from like your friends and colleagues and see what they think. And sometimes they'll just tell you what they think you want to hear, which is, great idea. Let's see. It's Mesh from the Oxford 2019 class. Glad to finally catch a live. Hey, Mesh, how's it going? So last year, Rodrigo, I did like a day. I think it was a day. A few years ago, I think I did a week. Last year, I did a day, like with like a summer school about app development stuff. It's cool. Glad you could make it, Mesh. Ben says, I know people use Firebase for backend, but what's the difference between Firebase as a backend or perhaps call a CMS like Drupal, which can provide endpoints we can use? I think the nice thing about Drupal is you don't have to worry about the GUI of the admin site. So if you can use like you were saying, I think you were using a headless GUI, a headless Drupal. But I think I just don't. I'm not a big fan of PHP myself. But like if you had something like that, so like if you make your own, if you use Firebase to create your own backend, you still like if you wanted to have an admin site or you wanted to allow your administrators to go in and add stuff, you could either say go in and just mess around with the Firestore or the Firebase, the real-time database tables manually, which is never a good idea, or you have to build them an interface. And if you have something like Drupal, then you don't have to worry about building them an interface, I wouldn't imagine.
And I would say you don't have to have a server and maintain a server. Like you don't have to update it and everything and security. So it's a bunch of benefits if you use Firebase.
Yeah. And then finally, this is the last one we're going to do. Fistelbo says that you mentioned you like SQL Server, but since you're not on Windows, you'll go with MySQL. It depends. I think I like SQL Server. If I'm doing C#, I like SQL Server, but it's very rare that I do. I mean, I used to love doing stored procedures, but I think it's very limiting. SQL Server where you have to be on Windows, and I know you got Azure now and you can host it remotely, but I think I just like the openness of MySQL. So, but yeah, SQL Server, I've done a lot of SQL Server in the past. He says PHP is cool. It lacks some debug tools, I think. I suppose so. I'm being a bit of a snob. Same way I'm about reading. So, yeah. So anyway, so that's it for the live stream today. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thanks everybody who smashed the like button and told us where you guys are coming in from. Rodrigo, I hope you have a great week. We might not be back here next week. People don't like you. No, I'm just kidding. They love you.
People?
You're taking my thunder. But if anybody does want to join the live stream one of these days, let us know. But you have to tough it out. Rodrigo was able to go like 2 hours last time and a couple hours before, and that's a rare thing. So thanks again, Rodrigo, for joining. Appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great week ahead. Have a great weekend. We'll try to get more videos out. Stay healthy and safe, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, everyone.